Welcome back, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you again, and it's great to be with you again, Vani Dudilla, leader and solution architect for the Central Region for OutSystems. How are you?
Doing well, Mark, and good to be back with you.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. It's a movable feast, kind of like Hemingway.
Right.
So let's talk about interoperability, ease of use, and related topics.
Mhm.
One of the things that needs to be discussed is how you create ease of use at the architecture level in IT. Tell me about your philosophy of that.
Um, so the ease of use come from how easy, I mean, there is a back end part of it, there's a front end part of it is ability to present that information to the user and provider at the same time and in the fashion that it can be consumable. In order to do that, there's a lot of backend systems you need to surface that information up from, right? That's what is important. And OutSystems provides you that APIs. It's not APIs, it ingests the APIs and give ability for developers to digest that APIs and give you the pixel perfect UI in a manner and fashion where the external folks, or like whether it's a consumer, in this case it's a patient, or provider, in this case it could be the clinicians, the doctors, the medical providers, to be able to present that information. uh, can everybody do it? Absolutely, but it just to present right information at the right time with a minimal effort. That's what OutSystem provide, and you need that information.
Absolutely. Tell us about what your idea of a seamless view of information and data is.
So seamless view in this meaning, I want, you know I I'm going to a doctor, and I go to 4 or 5 providers on an average, something for my medical, to my physical therapist, and etc. I want that information all to be available at one place without logging into 10 different systems, able to log in once and get that information, and the provider should be able to get that information right away, right? Like OutSystems did this hackathon for Seattle's children. As all of you are aware of the Seattle Children's Hospital, right? A mom with a infant in ICU, actually a toddler, not an infant, who's suffering and needs the chemotherapy, and the kid has cancer. And meanwhile, providers are asking, rightfully so, a lot of questions about other information, other treatment plan this kid is having. The mom should not be going through the pain of logging into different systems. Ability to have that on mobile, here's the information right there. That's seamless. Accessing information from various providers and surfacing it up with one click. And I know one click is
Absolutely.
the overused word, but that is seamless for me. And if I input something in there, it's broadcasted to everybody, and with the, of course, with the security around that.
Absolutely. What are the main obstacles in from your point of view, to achieving that? What you just described is terrific. We're not there yet, though.
Yeah, we are not there. We're a long way from there, right? Because the information, again, is in different systems, and based on different availability of the systems. Uh, some have this open APIs to be able to communicate with the other systems, and some don't. Again, the obstacles are technology to be able to give an API is a very technical term, to provide that information available for another system to consume it and able to deliver it. And that takes a lot of effort. That takes a lot of money, a lot of effort. So people just say, you know what, it's better off for me to go send a fax. I'll take that paper copy of a fax to the other provider because I don't want to spend that much money. But if I the OutSystem provides that entire integration, seamless and with very less cost, and in a fraction of a time, to be able to provide it to everyone, right? Then you don't have to depend on archaic paper processes. Today, because the technology is not available from the other folks, people say, okay, let me just go back and get my paper. Here's my paper. I'll collect my paper and I'll give it to you. Make sense?
It does, and it's sad. It's sad that in 2021, the healthcare system is still using faxes. I mean, there's literally almost no other major industry that's using fax machines now.
Well, unfortunately, it's just the truth, because we don't want to spend the time, money, effort, and the changes are coming. We haven't thought about COVID 2.5 years from now, and things are changing, and the organizations have to change at the fast pace to able to pivot. So it's very important, and more so now than any other time in the history, to have the technology so that can pivot to external factors, pivot to the business needs, which is in this case the patient needs of a provider.
Yeah, we're still so siloed. How do we get out of that?
Well, we can't take away the silos. That's the fact of it, right? We can't, because everybody is experienced and focused and specialized in those silos. Taking away silos takes a lot of money, effort. Instead, spend on the technology, which can surface again, and I'm using this word surface a lot, which can surface this information available, integrate that information, and provide it in a consumable format. So that's what it is. So you can take away, so literally you can't take away silos, but you can take away information from the silos and present it as a single form of truth or single click of truth.
That's it, exactly. So in other words, the technology we're talking about really is bridging technology. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yes. So I call this the wrapper around that, right? Everybody, like each of this EHR or EMRs are very specialized, and each of the technologies are very specialized in what they're doing, but the bigger picture is missing. So having that wrapper around all this and getting that information to the provider when and how you need it, and adding the AI, artificial intelligence, to it. So there is a sort of the trends we can see, and there's sort of predictions, and there is a sort of recommendations that it can provide to solve the problems. That's what the wrapper and the is important. One thing, the wrapper is important too. Yeah, we get all this information. If I can't present that information in the format that people like it or easy to use, they won't use it. So it's very important, one, to get the information and then to present that information.
Exactly, to the user. So let's talk about clinicians, and then to the extent that patients and consumers are involved, what will clinicians' experience of the wrapper be, and what will patients experience to the extent that they'll be experiencing it?
So before answering the question, I also will say, so the wrapper with proper security, because this is healthcare, health information, with because there's a lot, it has to be handled with a kid glove in terms of security. Once you have that, the provider can pick and choose, right? Instead of getting loads and loads of programmers and programming around it, pick and choose what is it information that I need to present at the time that is needed for the patient, so they can consume it. And the patient to be able to say, hey, here I am, I'm logging into a portal, for example, and the provider is providing that information at the same time. I, as a patient, should have access to, one of the providers is providing me a treatment plan. What are the other treatment options available for me? I should be able to go do the research. And the pharmacy information. These are the drugs that has been prescribed. What are the other alternatives that's available? All ability to get that, all the information at one place from all the providers, so I can make an informed decision, and I have choices. Right today, all the choices are there, but I have to go to 100 different places. Do I have time? Do I have knowledge? But as a provider, if provider can provide all these alternatives from different providers, and I am empowered to take that decision.
Absolutely. Another element here is going to be mobility. How does this crosshatch with the shift to mobility for providers?
So for providers and the consumers at the same
Yeah,
time, right? So the
yeah,
patient is mobility is very important. As I said, that example of the Seattle Children's Hospital, having that information on a mobile right there from everybody, and I don't have to log into 100 different things, and in a format that is acceptable for an average human being. I'm not a medical professional, but I want to be able to see everything I can see by logging into a system on a mobile. Today, there is a lot of lacking or lagging in a mobile technology from right now. So if I am a patient, I should be able to get everything anywhere I am, to get that information on a mobile device in a format that I can understand. At the same time, from a provider perspective, to be able to get that information about the patient from different providers on the mobile, wherever they are, is a really, really an important thing. And I'm going to go a step further, right? It's now we are talking about the treatment plans, but also think about a situation today. A patient comes in, a provider is looking at the patient, looking at what needs to be done, taking some notes. As part of there is some part of it missing, right? There's a lag in a lost in translation from what the patient is saying, what I'm writing down as a provider, and the recording. What if I can record that conversation, whether it's a video recording and plus the audio recording, how easy it is for the insurance companies, how easy it is to the provider to go back and say what they have missed, and all that available, where I don't have to get like 10 cameras in the room. The mobile can capture all this information and add AI to it and provide me recommendations, suggestions. And that is one single source of truth that insurance companies can use, providers can use, and the consumers can use, but again, wrapped in a very tight security.
absolutely. What what does the time frame look like to where that is going to be the norm or very common?
I see sooner, because I think, we talked about having paper in medical field like faxes and all till now, but I think people are there. The technology is there. It's available. Now people are thinking, let's use that. Let's get it. Because all this while people are thinking, well, by the time I get to this, it'll be 40 to couple of years. And before that, another trend comes in. But now with the technology available, like for example, out systems, you can keep developing solutions in weeks, if not in months and years with other technology. You make that available, people tend to use that and say, oh, this is great. And oh, I want to change one feature in there. Then again, you don't have to spend tens and thousands of dollars. You can just tweak it as a business user and having a solution out there. So these kind of solutions are provided by out systems. So I see it sooner, the trends happening sooner in technology, from technology perspective in healthcare, than it has happened in past 10, 15 years. I see this coming in like less than 5 years.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So finally, we just have a few minutes, but what would your advice be for CIOs, CTOs, CMIOs, everyone who is connected to informatics and IT in patient care organizations over the next few years? What should they be looking for? What should they be doing? We always want to caution people not to just rush out and buy things, but really think about what they're going to be purchasing and
That's a
acquiring.
great point, Mark, right? Because we talked about silos of information, but here he's talking about, let's talk about silos of ideas, silos of processes, silos of strategy. It's very important for CIOs to be lockstep with their CMIOs, which is like clinician management, together develop that strategy, because technology doesn't exist in isolation. Whether in healthcare or anything, you have to be lockstep with the business. Here in this case, it's clinicians, right?
Yeah,
Clinician or the providers. Get that strategy. Be be the business user yourself to to make the technology available for the strategy, to drive the strategy, or strategy available for technology. So for this, you have to be all inclusive, inclusive of your pharmacists, for the clinicians, everybody, to think about where they're going, so the technology can align itself and pivot as they are changing. So that inclusion is really important and needed.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most important things that you're saying, if I can interpret you to yourself, is technology is available now. One of the things that we need to do is really think about what we're trying to achieve. You know, you've talked about the wrapper and you've talked about
User experience.
this a seamless experience, user experience. It seems to me that one of the key challenges is that those who are still locked in the old ways and who are just trying to go day by day and not really thinking strategically are the ones who are going to be left behind, correct? Because the technology is advancing fast enough. We can create seamlessness if we want. If you can comment on that.
So absolutely, right? And sometimes I fall into that, although I'm a technologist, like going into like, you know, sort of cutting and pasting, hey, control C, control V, because I'm used to that in the old ways. But this is where, back to your, and segue from your previous question, is the technologists, the clinicians, everybody working together, working on that organizational change and involving everybody and educating them on how technology is. Because every time a new technology comes, people are wary of it, people are afraid of it. But educating them, which I call it change, organizational change, have that in process, and then have your strategy, well, or work on your strategy and technology, and it'll be beautiful. So you'll get everybody on in fold, and everybody will be people, because people are afraid of people, the things that they don't know. You educate them, they're okay with it.
Exactly, exactly. So it sounds as though you're pretty optimistic about the near future.
Oh, I'm super optimistic. The day will come when I don't have to have any paper, and I don't even, probably not even have a mobile. I can have some wearables here. I walk in anywhere, all my information is available for folks to know about me, or information that I want to be available for them. And the providers can give me information as much as applicable and available and legally applicable to me as I'm walking in. So I don't have to carry anything. I walk in, everything is available right there in a variable format. But right now you can do that on mobile, but I can see the day coming pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's wonderful. And I think that with the right leadership, we'll move forward as a system. I always believe strongly that we need to think thoughtfully about technology. And that doesn't mean saying no. Very often it means saying yes, but saying yes thoughtfully, right?
Saying it thoughtfully, executing it in a proper way. Again, I said organizational change, strategy, technology, all needs to work together, because nothing can work, again, from a thinking processes cannot be in silos either. It has to be whole inclusive.
Absolutely. We just have about one more minute. Any closing thoughts?
So again, back to, right, we talked about technology being available, AI being available. I just want the CIOs to be thinking about, yes, we can add any amount of, we can take out any amount of data, you can add any amount of AI, but think about putting that right information at the right time to the right provider. That's when they will have adoption. Because if I get information that's not relevant at that particular moment, I won't adopt the technology. When I see information, what is useful for me at that moment, at the right time, then I become user of that technology. So
Absolutely.
that's very
Absolutely.
important. That's what I think. And I think that CIOs should be thinking about relevant information at the right time.
Absolutely. Great advice. It's always great to be with you, Vani.
Thank you, Mark. And it's always great to be with you.
Thank you. This concludes this session. Thank you again, Vani, and thank you to our audience, and have a great day.
Thank you.